Joining me on the news are Smriti Irani. What do you call this budget? If you were to give a headline and you were in my seat tonight, what headline would you give this budget?
This budget is as much yours as mine as those who are watching us tonight, Navika. But more so it is for the future of India. And for that, the Prime Minister and the Finance Minister have my compliments. That this budget is not only an economic instrument, but also an instrument for change. That this budget is not only professing numbers which are solid and grounded in fiscal and monetary policies that find a unique balance, but it's also a budget that is steeped in humaneness, I think is what is quintessentially so different about the budget. That on one hand, the Finance Minister speaks about sickle cell anemia and its eradication, centers of excellence for artificial intelligence, and on the other hand gives a big boost to defense expenditure in our country by allocating the highest ever budget for defense. So this budget serves the interest of all communities, and this budget is a budget for the future of India.
Well, then Smriti Irani, why does it fail to impress Mr. Rahul Gandhi? He says this is not an Amrit Kal budget, it is a Mitr Kal budget. It does nothing for addressing inequalities in income, inflation, or even betterment of the people of India. How do you respond to Mr. Rahul Gandhi?
Well, there is an adage that no amount in learning can cure certain people, and I'm sure that he is a complement to that adage. I can only say this: who is the Mitr that he so-called bases his premise on? Today, the budget spoke expansively about giving free food to 80 crore Indians, 800 million Indians, at the cost of 2 lakh crore rupees, which will be borne particularly and only by the government of India. So are those 800 million Indians Modi's Mitras? If that is the case, I happily accept his charge. This budget also speaks about 11 crore farmers who received 2.2 lakh crores in their bank accounts courtesy the Modi Sarkar and Kisan Samman Nidhi. Are those 11 crore farmers friends of Modi? I happily accept that charge. This budget today speaks about Awas Yojana and an enhancement of 66% in its allocation. 3 crore homes have already been built for the poor in our country. Many more to be built. Are those poor families Modi's friends? I happily accept them as Modi's Mitr. The fact that 220 crore vaccine doses were given to our countrymen and women and children, are they friends of Modi? So what was the promise of Mr. Chidambaram? When he was on the seat of finance, he was taxing my toothpaste at 27%. When he was the finance minister, student loans, and let's see only home loans. Home loans, the EMI was about what? I think the interest was in May 2014 close to 10%. And in December 22 it is about 8%. So today if you take a loan, an education loan for 50 lakh rupees for a 20-year tenure, you as a family save 20,000 rupees. Is Mr. Chidambaram unhappy about it? Absolutely. These are the men and women in the opposition who, when they were in power, were pocketing that money.
Well, Ms. Smriti Irani, the question is also about the slashing of outlays for farmers. For example, the Kisan Samman Nidhi, the fact is that it is down, Manrega allocations are down, and the opposition charges the Modi Sarkar के 2022 में इनकम डबल होनी थी किसान की, वो तो हुआ नहीं, बाकी पैसे और छीन लिए, और डीजल के दाम की मार वो अलग.
I think that the opposition possibly slept through the fact that there's been a pronouncement of 20 lakh crores for the agricultural credit fund, that they did not give enough emphasis to the fact that the Modi government, apart from the fact that you have ensured that technological needs of farming are met, has also put in money for organic farming, has also put in money for indigenous production of fertilizers. That the Modi government, when we talk about kick-starting the rural economy through millets, that is a facet that also impacts small farmers. When the Modi Sarkar talks about fisheries, that is an initiative that impacts, or animal husbandry for that matter, that also has a very, very expansive impact on the agrarian sector of our economy. The fact that there is a special provision for horticulture, possibly the opposition missed that.
Mr. Chidambaram also says by forcing people to go to the default new tax regime, you've taken away some of the provisions and exemptions that were there in the old tax regime, and you did this only because you wanted to popularize and mislead people into going into the new tax regime. How do you respond to that charge?
I think that Mr. Chidambaram has taken extreme exception to the transparency that has been brought about in our taxation systems. That he is taking exception not only to transparency but also taking exception to the fact the alacrity with which income tax needs of our country, men and women, have been met. The Prime Minister has in his presence heard the Finance Minister, as we have across the country, with regards to how many assessments happen per day, in what time period they happen, and they happen digitally without interference or interface, so that we can enhance ease of living of our taxpayers. That there are more and more kardatas who are doing so transparently, who are being awarded or supported or respected for fulfilling their tax obligations. This whole ecosystem, which has been not only at the fulcrum of transparency but also a greater partnership, so that the taxpayers' money is judiciously used for the needs of the nation. I think that is an issue with which the Congress definitely will take exception, because that is their Achilles heel.
Well, so let me ask you two rapid fire questions. I want to ask you, number one, if you give tax exemptions in an election
I didn't know
year,
that you transformed into Karan Johar.
well, rapid fire is a good
Yes.
speed round. Where's the harm in taking?
Tell me.
Okay, Ms. Smriti Irani,
Not yours, but those who are sitting in the opposition, and that is exactly why they are sitting in the opposition. So let's look at the spend and the fiscal prudence that the government has institutionalized because of its successive budgets in the past 8 to 9 years. One, if you look at the 15th Finance Commission grants, let's say to urban local bodies, during the Congress regime and the 13th Finance Commission, you saw for urban local bodies your grants go up to close to around 23,000 crores. During the 15th Finance Commission and the grants for urban local bodies, it went up to 1,55,000 crores. That fiscal space has been created not only because of fiscal prudence, but a thought given to the detail to which we need to support infrastructure when we see rapid urbanization. That being said, apart from the 15th Finance Commission grants given, there is an additional comparative and grants given by the Government of India for urban local bodies, which is enhanced so much so that if you look at the Congress regime, they spent close to 1 lakh crore in the urban local bodies. The Modi government from 2014 to 2022 spent close to 18 lakh crore rupees only for urban local bodies. Now, why am I giving you this ankara or this budgetary framework, Navika? This is not an attractive election position to take. This is addressing the needs of everyday Indians who are a part of the rapid urbanization that we see in our country. Would you call that a revdi?
so you're saying this is a 2047 budget and not a 2024 budget?
Ration. Please allow me. No. This is as much a 2023 budget as it is a 2047 budget. The only people who take exception to future planning of this country are the ones who are sitting in opposition today. This is the first time in the history of our budget that you have seen a government decidedly say, let's not only address the issues of the present, but also create a path for the future. No Indian should take exception to it. No Indian should deny the right of the future to be built on solid ground. Navika, when the Prime Minister spoke about building toilets, it was 2014 after he had won a historic election. When the Prime Minister speaks from the ramparts of the Red Fort about the 1 rupee sanitary pad, that is not politically attractive, but it does much for gender justice. So if the Vipaksh is suffering from political myopia, if the Vipaksh does not see the cause of gender justice and social justice, you cannot blame their political sickness onto the Bharatiya Janata Party.
Well, before I let you go, any message for Mr. Rahul Gandhi that you'd like to put out tonight?
No, I'm not his babysitter.
Well, as sharp as
Like
ever
I said,
in
no
her.
amount of learning can cure certain people.
As always, it's time to just.
But I'm grateful, Navika. On a parting note, as a woman, I would just appeal to you and all the women watching. Today, the Finance Minister has announced a savings instrument for women at very attractive interest rates. My appeal is every lady out there and those who believe in the women's capacity in their families, please, when this instrument comes to the market and has been pronounced by the government, comes to the fore, please invest in it. But as a daughter of two senior citizens, my grateful thanks to the Prime Minister and the Finance Minister for making an exceptional case, especially for the elderly in our country. Thank you, Prime Minister.
Well, thank you for joining me, Smriti Irani, on the News Hour tonight.